Before we get started, tell me what you would like to have as an outcome of this interview, however long it lasts. What would you like to have for your viewers, your listeners, your readers?
I want them to be able to walk away with something that they can take and try to implement in their business or improve upon themselves and their strategies in some way, form, or another.
Today, we have a very special guest, Dave Yoho, president of Dave Yoho Associates and a longtime marquee figure in the industry. He's dedicated the majority of the last 50 years to helping home improvement and remodeling companies. After selling his shares in a $60 million revenue-generating roofing business Dave founded at only 28 called Surface Shield Institute, the World War II veteran started Dave Yoho Associates, a company that would address the needs of businesses ranging in size from startups to Fortune 500 companies. Alongside his staff, Dave and company currently create and execute management and training programs for all manner of businesses throughout the U.S. Over his career, Dave has appeared in 150 training videos. He's become a renowned speaker and has even been awarded the prestigious Cabot, the highest honor the National Speakers Association can bestow, something, Dave, you have in common with the late Zig Ziglar, I found. He is joining us today to spend some time discussing the critical issues of training in our current environment and, of course, provide us with some welcome hiring advice. Dave, thank you so much for coming on today.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity as well.
So just to start us out, looking at the sort of sales landscape in the home improvement remodeling industry, what's different today than a year ago? And I know it's a lot, so I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, yeah. Well, 1 year ago, in fact, the beginning of March, 1 year ago, we got hit with the reality of COVID-19 and things started to shut down. And for the next, 60 to 80 days, people were paralyzed, including people in the business.
Oh, yeah.
People who had essential services could go on with the business, but people who were relying on getting into someone's house to complete a contract were at short circuit because the customer didn't want them in there. So the COVID-19 brought up a compendium of issues. Now, some of that is transisted. People found out how to work in that environment. They can go back to completing the jobs. So what's happened since then? Well, you have an abundance of people who are home, who are willing to listen to you. So getting prospects doesn't seem to be the problem. Hiring, training is going to be a key condition in 2021. Getting that backlog or reducing the backlog and getting a cycle that works better with your business, that's a problem. But the whole key to the success and survival of your business, our industry, is how we develop something called customer satisfaction, marketing, and selling. Customer satisfaction in quotes, because that's the key. If you can produce a product or a service, you have prestige in your own industry, you've been around for a while, or you're starting, the key conditions are the same. That customer requires satisfaction. And don't be too quick to judge whether you think, well, we've been around for 3 years and we don't compete with the other guys well because, or a lot of our customers come from a third-party source, whatever that might be, or a lot of our business is on referral. The common condition in success is having a customer satisfaction oriented business. So that's selling. That's training. And when I say selling, I'm going to read this. Here's what I said. Whenever an interaction between two or more parties takes place for the purposes of establishing new ideas, exchanging goods or services for money, or the development of a relationship, some form of selling will occur. And the skills of the communicator, that person who has the job of selling it, whether he likes to be called a salesperson, architect, lawyer, engineer, whatever that might be, the skills of that communicator will often develop. And then the guy who does it best, the gal who does it best, gets the most reward. You take a lead in. When you may be taking your lead in a manner or form that worked for you 10, 15 years ago, even a year ago, but that's now changed. You're dealing with someone over the phone who needs something, wants something, two different things they need or want. And sometimes they're in a hurry to get it, and sometimes they're not. What's their common denominator? Well, usually they own a home, some sort of a building. That's why they're contacting you. And what's your form of response? In many cases, we see the phone is answered this way. Thank you for calling XYZ Construction. If you're calling about getting a proposal, press 1. And on it goes. And this is supposed to speed up the process. What does it lack? It lacks something we call a dyad. A dyad simply describes its interaction with two people coming from opposite sources who put the chain, the link of communication together. So you maybe would take a look at the way you take the information in. And there's a way to question people. And it's scripting. Whether you like it or not, it's scripting. When you see something well done, there's a script behind that.
And I think the fundamental part of what you're talking about, which is sort of systematizing things, is definitely a big part of selling and just basic management and remodeling. So my question to you would be, speaking with home improvement and remodeling companies the way that you guys do, what are some of the characteristics that you're finding in salespeople that are working the best nowadays in sort of our current selling environment? And how can companies better train their employees in those particular characteristics?
First of all, we have to get rid of a lot of old concepts, ways people did business for years. They're all going to be changing. Some of them have changed already. If you look at it, some supermarkets aren't going to be around. A lot of restaurants aren't going to be around. There's more money spent today over the phone ordering the process. But what you're dealing with are a set of factors which originate with the buyer, not the seller. So if we're going to be sellers of ideas, we have to be commodious. We have to respond to the way that prospect thinks and feels. If what you're doing, if what you're saying doesn't benefit the consumer, your process will eventually fail because the world is changing around you. Now say, well, everyone knows that. Well, I'll show you an example. When the mall was still alive, now it takes you 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get to the mall, another 10, 15 minutes to find a parking spot. Not now, but a year ago. Now you finally find a parking space. You go into the mall, you go up an escalator, down an escalator, and you finally get to the place where someone talks. Clerk comes over. And what does she say? Traditional statements that have been around for many, many years that mean nothing. May I help you? To which 85% of the people say, no, thanks, just looking. Now, that person saying, may I help you, doesn't want to know about new language because they think anything beyond may I help you is pushy. The person saying, no, thanks, just looking, is not saying that because they're just looking, is they don't want someone hanging over them, annoying them, and making suggestions that aren't helpful. What do you think is the complicated thing? Getting the person to stop saying, may I help you? And suppose if you said on that phone, thank you for calling XYZ Construction Company. How may I direct your call today? How can I be of service today? How can I be helpful to you today? And so when you say that, the first thing that person is encouraged to do is to tell you something. They are giving you specifics to which you can then respond. What have you done? You've shown importance to a detail that takes them out of the general flow of the population, and it's a very personal thing.
As you're having this conversation, and I'm going to squeeze in two questions here. One, how do you close that call ultimately with that sell, or at the very least, a meeting that's a little bit more formal? And two, is there any benefit to having that conversation live as opposed to maybe having some sort of online sales funnel?
The first thing to remember is these people will normally tell you wants, not needs, wants. And how do you know wants are different than needs? Because when you go on the call, you're going to go to see the people and they say stuff like this to you. Now, we've heard a lot about you and we know a lot about the business, and we saw your job site sign where you're working down the street. So you don't have to give us a lot. The price is going to be very important. Whatever it is they say, don't let that disappoint you. You have to be trained to be attitudinal. Everybody says that. So now you take this and you're building on this as you take information. You're now getting information about those people that will enable you to give them a presentation on a personalized basis. Now you ask for the capstone. How do you put the lead together? When you're having something done on your home, it's different than you buy a table, you buy a chair, you buy rugs, you buy a suit, you buy a tie, she buys a hat, you buy a car, you see them. They're things which you can touch, see, experience in a finished state. That's not the truth in a home improvement. Because from the back of this house where we're going to put on the condition is already a little garden with plants and trees and a little walkway, flagstones, what have you. And we have to treat that on a personal basis that equates to being beneficial to all the people in the home. That's what you have to sell them, to get them to be eager to see you when you're going to come to the home. These are called step selling or customer satisfaction selling tools.
Well, so one of the things, as I'm hearing you explain this, one of the things I hear is anticipate the needs of your clients. So what are some ways that you found helpful, and when you're having a conversation, so those sort of marker points to see, what people are actually kind of asking for?
Okay. So I want you, the people listening, to write down 3 words, and we're going to call it the walk around. The walk around. And one of the principles of all good customer satisfaction selling is the idea of fulfilling the needs or opening up so they will tell you what their true needs are. And that's called the walk around or the job inspection, or what is the generic phrase is needs assessment. So this has been chronicled over the years. If you find out what a person really needs, you have the opportunity to show them anything which personalizes this, zeroes in what that person would like. Now, as you listen to me, your head's going to give a little, yeah, but, and here's the yeah, but. At the end, it's going to be price. If that's your attitude, that's what it will be. We do a lot of work in the roofing industry, and we have a lot of big clients. And the average roofer is so concerned about price. How does he get the price low? Then he misses the point. So why get into this little price hustle right here? What would you like the outcome to be? And in the roofing industry, the walk around is an inspection. We have an inspection form that we teach that you go in there. So everything is based on a format basis. And so we are trying to find out from the people what their needs are. You are examining and you are taking in information that enable you to present to that person. Now, before I get to virtual versus live, let me tell you something else. Many of you are in your business and you have great charismatic behavior. And as such, you feel you can talk to anyone. We don't believe in assessing or hiring on charismatic behavior. Young, personable, dress well, neat, uses good language, behavior. So we use a behavioral profile to determine who we will hire to perform the task, including the person taking the call in over the phone. Virtual is going to be in play. We have many people who build their leads with virtual. We have sales managers who use virtual to examine what their salespeople are doing in the home while they have a computer in front of them, and they're doing what I'm doing right now. You're talking to the computer. The difference in virtual versus live is how good you are at what you do. Some people can do it well, some people can't.
Is there any effective way you found to train virtual sellers?
Well, it all starts out with the basics. Everybody has to go through basics. You cannot learn to write until you learn the alphabet. You cannot learn to walk as a child until you fell down a few times. You tried to take a step and it didn't work out. You fall on your rusty dusty. So the same thing with everybody's got to get back to basics. A lot has to do with attitude. What's going on in your head? Now, I just issued a white paper, the cost of negativity, the true cost of negativity. And I said, you get up in the morning, first thing you do is turn on the television set. What are you going to hear? Bad news. And you go through the process of listening to the different televisions, just front end loaded with negativity. And you're just infused with negativity. Now you got a lead in your hand. And that lead is valuable. You're going to see people who have an interest in you. You've got to learn the fundamentals, not what you like to do or not what you feel you'd like to do. You have to be doing something that uniquely serves people.
And in times like these, where there is this sort of, you live in this depressing zeitgeist, how do you help manage the attitude of an employee?
I'm going to say, it's easy to do. It's not easy to do. Take a look at the color of my hair. I've been around a long time. I sold a $60 million company in 1972. We were doing 60 million. That's the equivalent today in the ratio of 300 million. Now, times are different. Fundamentals remain the same. Attitude is attitude. And if you start to listen to negative stuff, you take a negative view. And when you get to the house, the guy's saying, listen, we're interested, but from what we hear, the prices to do this kind of work now. And he's right. You know what he heard this morning? Lumber prices in the past 4 months have gone up 42%. The 2x4 that used to buy in 10 to 12 foot sections has now gone up. He doesn't want to hear that. Why does he not want to hear that? Because reality is that's what you're going to pay for lumber. They're going to go into the proposal, the pricing. But how do you get it into your head first? And one of them is to expel what's in there already. I firmly believe that self-talk is very important. Reaffirming yourself. The worst time in anybody's day is when they get up in the morning and look in the mirror. You ain't going to like what you see, men, women alike. You're going to start to think of all the negative things in the world. If you're in a business where you get a contract after a lot of heavy work and the contract gets canceled or you can't get the financing for it. And if that's all you concentrate on, you're going to be infused with negativity. So you got to get positivity into your walk and your way of life. And some people do it spiritually. Others just do it by good attitudes when they look in the mirror. And here's what I do every morning. And I've been doing it for 60 years. I look in that mirror, wink at myself and say, I am a unique and precious being created by God for very special purposes. I'm ever doing the best I can. I'm ever growing in love and awareness of what's going on around me. But this day is mine. No one can take it from me.